möchte ich aber zuerst das Wort übergeben einem internationalen Gast. Seit gestern übe ich seinen Namen auszusprechen. Ståle Økland aus Oslo. Er wird Ihnen ein Einleitungsreferat halten, größtenteils eine halbe Stunde. Er ist Trendforscher, einer der bekanntesten, der sich mit dieser Generation Y auseinandergesetzt hat. Franziska Kohler hat im Tages-Anzeiger ein sehr schönes Porträt über ihn geschrieben. Er vergleicht das Management heute mit dem Management einer Rockband. Ich freue mich auf dieses Referat und übergebe Ihnen das Wort. Willkommen, Ståle Økland.
Thank you. And hello, Zurich. It's so good to be here. I really love Switzerland. It's almost like Norway. It's it's a small country and a lot of mountains. So I woke up to this view today, and I thought, well, I'm actually home. No, I'm not. I'm here in Zurich. Well, it's good to be here. Well, I'm going to do this presentation in English. Ich könnte ja auch Deutsch reden, weil ich habe 3 Jahre in Deutschland gewohnt. Aber ich habe 3 Jahre in Leverkusen gewohnt. Und warum Leverkusen? Ja, da gibt es ja nur einen Grund dafür, ne? Weil mein Vater war Fußballprofi bei Bayer Leverkusen. Das war dann in den 80er Jahren, so sah er dann aus. Und der hat mal 3 Tore gegen Bayern München geschossen. Das ist auch eine ganz coole Story, weil eigentlich gab es 4 Tore. Und mein Vater hat dann 4 Tore eigentlich geschossen, aber das 4. Tor war gar nicht drin. Der Schiedsrichter hat gesagt, ja, das war ein Tor. Und da hat mein Vater gesagt, als ehrlicher Norweger gesagt, das war doch gar kein Tor. Und dann ging er zum Schiedsrichter und hat gesagt, Herr Schiedsrichter, das war kein Tor. Ja, da haben sie trotzdem 3:0 gewonnen. Ja, aber ich weiß ja, dass ihr hier in der Schweiz sehr gut Englisch reden könnt. And that's why I'm going to speak in English, because it's a little bit easier for me still. Well, what about rock bands? I am not a rock star. I don't know so much about rock and roll either. Well, but it always fascinates me, I guess like everybody. When you're 16, when you're 17 years old, you grow up with those rock stars, and it's kind of part of your identity. And what I'm going to tell you today is that every company should think like rock stars. Not just to reach the young, but if you want to build a better company. And why on earth should you do that? Well, if you had asked me that 3 or 4 years ago, I would say, really? Why on earth should you think like rock stars? I mean, we have a company here. What should you learn from them? Because aren't just rock stars like people who drink and have sex and do drugs and things like that? No. They aren't. Because the whole rock and roll industry is actually changing. So rock stars nowadays work harder, work longer, and earn less. Which is not a good combination, is it? Which also fascinates me, because why on earth do you want to work harder, work longer, and earn less? You could go to work in a big company if you want to. But that is not what these guys are doing. And I found that really, really interesting. So I decided to spend 2 years with 8 bands to watch 200 gigs together with my photographer. So we basically traveled around with them in a bus. We went here to Switzerland as well with, at the St. Gallen Open Air Festival with the band Katzenjammer. That's Katzenjammer is a woman's band. I remember my wife wasn't really fond of that when I said I'm going to travel around with all these girls on the bus. And she said, really, are you really going to stay in the same bus as them as well? Yeah, so we have to do it right. I mean, this is a documentary, right? But we traveled around with 8 different bands. And it was 1 punk band, 1 black metal band, 1 rock and roll band. And it was also 1 band, it was kind of a cool band. I don't know what you call it, it's like Volksmusik. And they had played for 40 years, and we went to all those Volksmusik festivals as well. So we have seen it all. And what was really interesting is that we met the big bands on the festivals. We met Pearl Jam, we met Jack White, Lana Del Rey, I didn't travel with them, but we meet them. And I try to I try to compare. Is there anything that is similar? Is a young punk band, can you learn something from a young punk band which is actually the same that you can learn from a rock and roll band that has played, I don't know, 20 years together? And I wanted to find out, is there something the business life can learn from these rock bands? And there is a lot. I also wrote a book about it. I don't know if you've heard of any of those bands. I think Kaiser's Orchestra and Katzenjam are doing quite well here in the German-speaking countries. Enslaved is a black metal band, and yeah, you can see them here. But I'm also a trend analyst, and I've often been thinking about what is Europe's problem today? What is Europe's biggest problem? Well, I would put it this way, and this is not about young people. I think it's a general problem in Europe. We're getting old, we're getting lazy, and we're getting less innovative. We are losing the competition against China, against India, and now also against the US. So, how did we end up like that? And what do we have to do to get out of it? I mean, are we getting too rich? Are we getting lazy? Because we have seen everything, we have everything, there's nothing left to buy, there's nothing left to see. We will have to work harder, and we will have to work longer, and we will have to work smarter in the future. I think that is totally essential if Europe is going to succeed in the future. And of course, you can go back to your company, and you can say to your employees, or you can say to your boss, yeah, we are going to work smarter. Yeah, and everybody will say, okay, good, let's work smarter. So on every conference, everybody's talking about we have to work smarter. No problem. Everybody can agree on that one, right? But then you go back to your company and say, no, 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 you have to wait a little bit. We also have to work harder, and we have to work longer. And perhaps we have to earn a little bit less. What will then happen in your company? Do you think your employees will say, that's a good decision, boss. You should go more often to those conferences. You know, you get some good ideas going to those conferences. Of course we're going to work harder, longer, and earn less. Great idea. Do you think that will happen? Or do you think your employees will say, well, in that case, I'm leaving the company? What also fascinates me is that Europeans retire so fast. If you compare that with the US, it's different. I mean, on the West Coast and the East Coast of the US, people are starting their second career when they're 60 years old. In Europe, we retire. And we are so eager to retire that, I mean, now we have, people are studying until they are 30 years old, right? And then they are working until they are 60 years old, and they are living until they are 100 years old. So for the last 40 years, they're going on the golf course. It's not going to work in the future. So how can you make it possible to work longer then? I mean, I can understand that the Chinese are laughing. Every time in China they say, really? You stop working when you're 60 years old? Really? And then they laugh. Of course you have problems, they say. But work ethics are changing, and I guess we will be speaking a lot about that today. Work ethics are changing. If I look at my grandfather in Norway, he was a fisherman. He went to job, he had this fishing boat, and he had his brothers, and they went out fishing. And basically what they did on the west coast of Norway in the 1950s, they worked and they prayed. That's basically what you did. I mean, if you had the job to go to, and if you had, if you could afford a house where your family could live, and you had food on the table, you were a success. Yeah, your life was a success. You have done what you should do. So, is your family hungry? No, we have food. Okay, good. Do you have a place to stay? Yeah. Do you have a job? Yeah, good. You're a success. Well, that isn't what it's all about today, is it? Now it's much about work and having fun. And I'm really, you know, when I go to those companies and I see they do a lot of things to have fun, and it has nothing to do with the job, I'm always a little bit concerned. But if you compare that with a rock band, you know, I mean, you go to a company and they have have you seen those small mini golf sets? They're standing like this. So they're saying, yeah, you would just have to work 10 more minutes and then we're going to do something cool. We're going to find the mini golf set. Do you think it's like that in a rock band? We're just going to play 5 more minutes and then we're going to do something cool. No. We're going to play 5 more minutes and then we're going to play 10 more minutes and then we're going to play, I don't know, 1 more hour. So that was quite interesting. But you can't force people to work harder. You know, they do try it. They have tried. You know what happens if you force people to work harder? This is what happens. And this is what happens in Greece. Oh, we have no money. You have to work harder. I don't care. I don't want to work harder. You can't force me to do that. So we have to create a society where people want to work harder, longer, and of course, smarter. And therefore, you should look to rock bands. And that was really, really interesting when I traveled with them. Because, you know, my background is sociology. And I came there and I tried to find out how much do they actually work per week. I mean, that's basically what you do, right? When you're out there and you're studying different groups of people, you ask them, yeah, so how much do you work? And they always said, I don't know. I don't know how much I work. They never count working hours. Never. And I came back to them and said, so, you must know approximately how much you work. Do you work like 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours a week? And they said, I don't know. What do you mean by working? Is it practicing for the concerts? Is it playing the concerts? You know, they really didn't care about all my questions. So that's also why I had to travel with them to see what they're actually doing, because they don't want to talk about management. They don't care about that. They don't care about branding. They don't care about all these things that I wanted to find out. So I asked them, how many hours do you work? And they never knew. And it's interesting because everybody I knew in the business life know approximately how much they work. They go to their boss and they say, now I'm working 40 hours, now I'm working 50 hours, pay me more. Rocker never does that. But one day, there was this guy from the black metal band. And he came to me and he said, well, I have been thinking about your question. Great, I said. Have you found out how much you work? No, he said. The problem is, yeah, what's the problem? I said, your question. So my question is the problem, I said. Yeah, your question is the problem. Because if I knew how much I actually worked, what should I do with that number? And I thought, oh my God. But then he said something interesting, and then he said, we are working until we are doing well on stage, until we can play what we want to play, until the crowd is happy, until we are happy. And it has to take, you know, sometimes it takes 10 hours, sometimes it takes 3 days. We are working until we're done. Aha. I thought, that is, okay, what are you actually telling me? You're telling me about quality, right? You have to be happy with what you're actually doing. Rock bands are seldom sick or away from work, which is also quite fascinating. If you look at them, you wouldn't believe that they are almost never sick, right? Because this is the image that you see. This is the band Oslo S hanging out with their tattoos and, you know, smoking a little bit and having a beer. But that is in front of the camera. You can see what's going on backstage. They're drinking water and they are eating sushi. Because they know that they are going to play 150, 200 gigs, and you can't go, you can't go drunk for 200 days. I mean, try to be drunk on a nightliner, on a bus. It's terrible. I have tried it. It's terrible. You just do it once. You wake up in the middle of the night, and you headache, and you're looking out, it's just an autobahn, and you're going crazy. You can't do that. But it's not just about, you know, if we don't show up at the venue, we are not making any money. No, it's taboo to cancel a concert. You'd never do that. You don't want to disappoint your fans. So therefore they are never sick. There are actually some of them, they have been sick, but they go on stage and they feel ill, but they don't want to disappoint their fans. Or customers, as you might say. Rock bands never talk about customers or clients, they talk about fans. But it's basically the same thing. The last 10 years we have only cancelled one concert. Jan Ove, which is the lead singer, was so sick that he hallucinated, says Gersal in Kaiser's orchestra. It was really interesting because I thought, you must be kidding me, I said. Can't be true, right? But my photographer said, yeah, it is actually true because I remember it. Oh, so you do remember that? I said to my photographer, yeah, I remember because, Jan Ove, the lead singer, he called me. When he was hallucinating, I said, yes, he called me and he said, you have to come over to my place and take a picture of me. Why? He said, you're sick. Yeah, that's exactly why you have to come to take a picture of me. So we can post it on internet and people can see that I'm actually sick. And then we can cancel the concert. And I thought, okay, let's transfer that to business life. How would that be? Okay, boss, I'm sick today, but just send over a photographer. And I will show you that I'm actually sick. It's not about the money, it's about dreams. You never start a rock band because you want to earn a lot of money. And the interesting thing is, if you look at the best businesses, the best corporations all over the world, it's exactly the same. Almost 70% of the American companies are started at home by one or two people, who has an idea about doing something better. At every conference, everybody's talking about, Apple and, Facebook and things like that. Well, look at them. It started with a dream. There was one guy, two people. They wanted to do something better. If you would have asked them, is this about the money? They would say, no. We could have earned a lot more money doing something else, but we want to live our dream. I'm earning less than my friends, but I'm living the dream, says Suve Heilo Katzenjammer. And both of her parents are one of the best doctors in Norway. She could have done anything, but she wanted to start a rock band. Now they're earning money, because you have to learn to earn money if you're a rock band, because that is your ticket into your dream. Because you can't go around all Europe traveling in a bus and not earning money. But it never starts by a vision of earning money. Why do young people like rock stars? Of course, it's about the music as well, right? But I was really interested, why are people standing in front of the stage screaming when a rock band enters the stage? Why doesn't that happen when you open your store, for example, in the morning? Why are not customers standing screaming in front of, the stage? It sounds a little bit like a silly question, right? Because, these are rock stars. Yeah, but I wanted to find out why. So, I talk with a lot of psychologists, sociologists, and a lot of people, but nobody could actually explain me why. I think I have an answer on that. I will give it to you a little bit later. But one thing that is interesting, why do young people like rock stars? I think it's because rock stars live their dream. They're seeing some people traveling around living their dream. And they are happy on stage, and they're doing exactly what they want to do. So you come to a concert hall, and you come there and you have, you have had, for example, a bad day on your job, or you're studying something and it's not getting, you're not having any success with it. And then you see these rock stars and they just stand there and then do exactly the thing that they want to do. That creates energy. Young people have ambitions and want to be part of a great team. So do rock stars. It's not just about, we're talking about young people today, they're just thinking about what they want to do. No. Of course, they have their own ambitions, but they also want to be part of a great team, have friends, do something together with other cool people. Young people want their job to mean something, and so want rock stars. It has to mean something. Why on earth am I going to this company every day. Why am I working here? What does it mean? So what are the rockstar values then? And I'm more focusing on rock bands because I think bands are more interesting than single rock stars or single artists, because in a band you have a system that has to work every day. Morning, afternoon, night, you have to live, you live together. So rockstar values is tolerance, integrity, quality, friendship, and hard work. These are the most important values. And then you could perhaps say, well, yeah, I think we have them in our company as well. We have tolerance. We don't fight, you know. It's okay. I don't know, you know, what's he called, but I've never sent anything to him that, you know, offenses him. No, we have tolerance. Well, then you should take the test. Does your company value tolerance? Well, try this. Could your company live here? 12 people in a bus. Could you live there with your you know, with your company or your management or your staff? 12 people in a bus. That smells. Because after 4 or 5 days, it smells on the bus. Always. And somebody's having a bad day. And somebody's having a good day. And you're sitting there and you're talking and nobody listens, because it's okay to listen, because you can't go, you know, you can't go away. You have to be there. But you're not interested in what people are saying, so you just stare out and it's okay. That is tolerance. If you can manage to live 12 people in a bus, then you have tolerance. This is your private area, your only private area, a bed. So you're standing in the middle of the bus, changing your clothes and everything. It was kind of weird in the beginning. I had never done that before. You know, I'm used to live in hotel rooms when I travel around. The interesting thing was, you know, after one of those tours, I came to a hotel room, and suddenly I was in a big hotel room, and I was standing there in a corner, you know, taking on my clothes. Because I was used to, you know, all the time, there's no space here. So I was standing in the corner of the hotel room, taking off and off. Try this. Of course, there is a difference. Rock bands own their own company, and everybody contributes, right? Everybody has to contribute. They play more gigs, they do harder work, and there's less sex, drugs, and alcohol. Of course, it was much easier with the Rolling Stones or with the AC/DC back then with Kiss. I mean, they were earning their money on records, and they were playing, I don't know, 20 gigs a year. Many of those bands that I followed play 200 gigs a year because they don't earn any money anymore on records. And it's a do-it-yourself culture. It's a do-it-yourself culture. So everybody has to do something. Everybody has to do something. For example, the drummer is very often the accountant. I don't know why, but very often. I think it's because they're sitting behind, you know, behind the drums. You know, that's a little bit different role, sitting there, then standing in front of the stage. The most individualistic guys are always the lead singers. And then you have the guitarists, and then you have people playing bass. They're all different. And they all have different roles to play. What is interesting, though, people ask me, for example, if you go back to the... now I lost my picture here. Let's try it again. Yeah, if you go back to the bus again, people often ask me, well, it's much easier because, I mean, they're all young, aren't they? I mean, they're all, you know, we couldn't do that in our company because we have people who are 30 years old, 40 years old, somebody is 20 years old. We couldn't live together. Yes, you can, because that is what you do in a band as well. Because the crew is often much older. There's a management going with you. So you have different kind of people and with different kind of backgrounds. The basic thing, though, is that you hunt together, you win together, and you lose together. It's almost like a tribe. Almost like a tribe. You hunt together, you win together, and you lose together. and you never go, you're always standing together. You never say, for example, in the media, it's the drummer's fault, We did a bad concert today, and it's the drummer's fault. You never hear that. The drummer would have killed you if you tried that in the bus. Everybody wins or nobody wins. Everybody wins or nobody wins. And therefore, rock bands need no directors. Of course there are. I mean, this is Kaiser's Orchestra. If you look at those guys, I mean, in front here you have Jan-Ove, that's the lead singer. He believes that you can actually, I mean, he has his own world. He believes that you can actually take a bicycle and fly to the moon. And then you have Geir, which is, the last guy there is his best friend. He would then say, are you sure there is a moon? And then you have the guy with the hat, that's the accountant. And the other guy with the other hat, he does all the visuals. So, they have different roles, and Jan-Ove, the lead singer, always decides what, the music, how are they going to perform the music. But the accountant always decides, are we going to Switzerland, are we going to Germany, are we not going to Britain this time? And that's how it works. And if you have a system like that, you actually need no director. And you don't need a manager who, I've always looked at these managers standing there and say, you can do it. The biggest, most important thing a manager should do is to motivate their employees. Have you read that before somewhere? Always heard that. Rubbish. Doesn't know. No. You never see a lead singer standing there and say, come on, you guitarist, you can do it. The guitarist will say, what on earth are you talking about? Of course I can do it. If you are not motivated, you are not in this band. You don't need to motivate your employees. And they never go on strike, right? Why should they? No bureaucracy, easy to make fast decisions. Rock bands hate meetings. It's the worst thing they do. People often ask me, so what is going on backstage, Is it kind of interesting, what's going on there? Is it interesting? Yeah, meetings, basically. And it's like this. Rock bands get together and say, okay, we're having a meeting now. Yes, we have. So you come on over here. Come on. Yes, you too. You too. Okay. Everybody here now? Okay, we have these things on the agenda. Are we going to UK today? Then next week? No. Yes. Yes. No. Okay, we're going. It's basically like that. Everybody contributes. And then you can't say afterwards that I disagreed. Oh, we have this boss and he said we have to do this and that. No, you took part in the decision. So you just go on and do what you have to do. They're small, they're different, and they're cool. But if you want this system, if this system is to work, you have to have the same level of ambitions. It doesn't work if you don't have the same level of ambitions. And we saw that with many bands. For example, with one of the bands, they said, we're going to play 200 concerts next year. And the drummer said, no, I don't want to do that. I can't. I have a girlfriend, I'm studying. I can't do 200 concerts. Do you think the rest of the band then said to the drummer, so are we then playing 100 concerts? Or are we playing 120 concerts? No. They said, well, we are going to play 200 concerts. Are you joining us or are you not? One of the bands, the black metal bands, came to California. And one of the guitarists, he said, we have no success. We have really no success. And why do we have no success? I have been in this band since I was 13 years old, and we have no success. Why do we don't have any success? Because you are more, you just hang out, you smoke pot, you're not doing your job. So we have decided that we want to have success, and you have to leave the band. That is what happens. So many of them, and they are best friends, for example, the singer goes to the guitarist, his best friend, and he says, you have to have the same level of ambition. If not, you're out of the band. And if you have that kind of way of running a company, then I think it works. But if not, then you need a director who says, come on, we can do 200 gigs, I'm going to find a mini golf set if you join us. It's got to be real. It's got to be real. And this is interesting. I found out, why are people standing in front and screaming on the stage? Because many of the rock stars have been standing there when they were young people. You know, they were also standing there and screaming. And one of the artists said, you know, it's very, very important to know that if there are 2 people attending or 10,000 people attending, each and every one of them has given us a compliment by coming here. You know, we could have done something, they could have done something different. They could have gone to another concert, but they're here. They came to our place to listen to us, and they have paid money for it. Of course we're going to give them something back. And that is exactly when you have, when things are exploding, when the best concerts, when you see the best concerts, is that when the band gives everything to their fans, and the fans gives everything back. Then you have a good concert. And I don't think that if you run a company, you will open your store and people will stand screaming. But I think that if you think in that way, you will have more loyal customers. And I think if you are a manager and you want to do the best for your company, and the best for your employees, and the best for your customers, then I actually think that you also will get people who want to work there. So you must love to be loved. Your customers and employees are your family. So I want to show you a little video. It's Honningbarna, Honey Kids, you would translate it. They are 19 years old. They have started their own company, the band, and they are touring around in Europe. And you're going to see a little bit of how it works. And I would say this is basically the company of the future.
Okay, that pretty much sums it up. Hvordan skal vi til Hamburg? Can I get an amen?
So here you can see the company of the future. 20 years old, 19 years old, working hard, working long, and having fun. And it's all about those values, as I mentioned before. So what could you do then? Because I think, we are not a rock band exactly, we are like more a traditional company. Well, I think there are actually three things that you could do. Not because I think that, you can go back tomorrow and then you're going to be a rock star company. But I think if you can use a rock band as a kind of ideal company, so what should you do then? I think, first of all, you have to break down big organizations into smaller business units. I mean, if you don't know the name of the people you are working with, then you have a big problem. Because it's not personal anymore. It's not about, then it's not about friendship. So you have to break down big organizations into smaller business units. Big companies are too bureaucratic. Oh my God, it takes time when we're talking with a big company. Often they have, there's somebody who has to talk with his boss, and somebody has to talk with his boss again, and then it's gone, 3 months before something happens. It doesn't work. You don't have time for that. And it's unpersonal. Big companies are boring. Yeah, I think so. No, not all big companies are boring. They are not. They are not. There are some cool companies out there as well. But I think you have to change your business models. Young people want flexibility. It's like, you can look at, I'm not the Generation Y anymore. I'm more like a Generation X. That's the worst generation, right? Because we have an ironic distance to everything. We don't believe in anything. And Generation Y is much more, positive, I would say. But the young people want flexibility, If you look at young people today, look at young guys in Norway, 25 years old, 26 years old. They are fathers. They want to, spend time with their kids. They want to go to the kindergarten and get their kids. Yeah, I know you here in Switzerland have a job to do there. I know it. But, that is the way. That is the way of the future, Men also want to take part in their families. They don't just want to go to work all the time, but they want to work perhaps after the kids have gone to bed. Then because it's possible with technology today. And they want freedom, not security. Of course they want security as well, but if you don't give them freedom, then you have a real big problem. You will get people, because the unemployment rate is high in Europe. But you don't get the best people. And it's the best people that you want. The biggest talents. And therefore you have to decentralize. And that you are really good at here in Switzerland. Everything is decentralized, except big companies. I think it's good. The best leadership is when there is no leader. If you can build your company that everybody takes responsibility for the company, and you as a boss can say, you know what, it's Friday, and I'm actually going to spend a little bit more time with my family this Friday because I have a great company. Everybody takes care of everything. But you have to give your employees something to believe in. Why am I going to work today? Is it just to get money? I'm not interested. Is it just to get, Social Security? I'm not interested in that. I'm 25 years old. I'm 30 years old. I'm not. I'm a little bit more older than that. And therefore, you have to treat your employees and customers as family. That is exactly what the rock bands do. And face it, everybody in this room is getting old. And you have to ask yourself this question, have you lived your dream? That is what rockers do. The worst thing for a rock star is the idea of sitting there when you're 70 years old and you're looking back at your life and you think, oh my God, I could have done it, but I didn't have the courage. So I went to a safe place, I took a safe job, and my life was pretty safe, did very few mistakes. But was it cool? Was it okay? Did you have a good life? I guess it was okay. No, that is not an answer. It's the worst thing that a rocker could think of. Sitting there, with all the other elderly around the table with a coffee cup a little bit like this. So what have you done with your life? I don't know. Basically nothing. So therefore, make it simpler, have more fun, and rock on. I wish you all good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, it was great. Maybe you'll stay some minutes.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I will.